Hi, my name is Lisa Franks, also known as Keepin' It Wheel 306, and welcome to my YouTube channel. People have been telling me for years now that I should start a YouTube channel, and I just shrugged it off. Really, I didn't want to be another Vanlife or turned YouTuber. But recently, I thought maybe I do have a lot to share that could maybe help people in their lives. So here we go. We're gonna give it a shot. So I thought I'd start off by telling you a bit about myself. I am 41 years old and I have been in my camper van living full-time for just coming up on 2 years. Now, I haven't always been in a wheelchair. I was a very active, able-bodied young kid growing up, and when I was 14 years old, I had a very rare thing happen to me. I basically woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't even stand to walk. And I was eventually diagnosed with something called an AVM, arteriovenous malformation. And what it was a cluster of blood vessels had formed in my neck here, even from birth. And pressure had built up in that cluster of blood vessels and burst and damaged my spinal cord. That bleeding in the spinal cord caused damage to the nerves, which led to paralysis. When I was finally diagnosed with what they said was an AVM, I was rushed into an emergency surgery. And at that point, I could barely even shrug my shoulders. I had lost movement in all my lower body and my arms. I came out of that surgery completely paralyzed on a ventilator and wondering what direction my life would take. I went through several months of rehabilitation in the hospital, and things slowly improved. I started to get movement back in my arms. And eventually I was able to leave the hospital and get around in a wheelchair like the one you see today. While I was still in the hospital, I was introduced to wheelchair sports. There I was introduced to wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby, and wheelchair racing. It turns out that wheelchair racing really suited me, and I had a bit of a talent for going around the track in circles. Less than a year after my spinal cord injury, I was competing in wheelchair racing at a national event. Things just escalated from there, and within a few years, I was traveling the world. I started doing competitions all over the world, and I got to travel to Europe several times a year, Australia, Korea, China, Japan. I went to 25 countries before I was 25 years old. So the entire time that I was competing in sports, I was also studying mechanical engineering, and I graduated from university with a mechanical engineering degree. I worked at a firm where I did the design of mechanical systems in commercial buildings, so things like heating and ventilation and plumbing systems and fire protection. I found a lot of success in wheelchair racing. I attended 2 Paralympic Games. I came home with 4 gold and 1 silver medal, and set 7 world records in events from the shortest distance was 100 meters all the way up to the 42-kilometer marathon race.
Front loose jaw to the outside, trying to gain They are now wheel to wheel through the turn. This is going to be a tremendous finish. Franks attempting to win a third gold medal. Tanaka attempting to hold off the challenge. Franks working hard. Tanaka working just as feverishly. 100 meters remaining, and now it is Franks with just a slight edge. Franks is beginning to pull away. Lisa Franks of Moose Jaw is going to win a third gold medal. She has captured the women's 1500, defeating Tanaka of Japan in a tremendous duel down the finishing straight.
I went to a third Paralympic Games in wheelchair basketball with Team Canada. A pretty significant shoulder injury sidelined me from wheelchair basketball, and I actually went through 7 years of chronic pain where I really barely left my apartment, and I couldn't sleep. I didn't have an appetite. I just really wasn't enjoying life. I wasn't living life. But luckily I came through that period and I discovered neuroplasticity, which really just helps your brain reprogram pain. And so I slowly was able to get back to a life. And as I was coming out of that pain phase, I realized that I wanted to be in nature as much as possible. So I started taking little camping trips, and I started doing outdoor activities like kayaking, biking, mountain biking, even surfing. I just loved the thrill of an adrenaline sport, and then the added bonus of doing it in nature. I really found that it started to heal me even more. In 2020, I took a leave of absence for my engineering job, and I built up my little Honda Element into a home on wheels. It had a platform bed, it had a cooler, it had a camp stove, and I actually spent 4 months traveling around the West Coast in that little Honda Element. I loved the lifestyle. I just loved being able to be in a location and I could explore all the outdoor accessible elements, but then I could quickly move on to another place that had more accessible features. And I just knew that I wanted more and more of that in my life. So I started to daydream about van life and having a bit more comfort than my Honda Element, and that's when I decided I wanted to do van life, and I ordered a 2021 Ford Transit van, the one I'm in today, and I started to design it. I designed every little feature to make it accessible for me so that I could travel independently. In my van, I carry a surfboard, I carry a mountain bike under the bed, and I'm always ready for an adventure. I'm from Canada, I live in Saskatchewan, and it's very, very cold and snowy there in the winter, and you can imagine how difficult it is to get around in the snow in a wheelchair. So one of the big perks for me with the van was that I could get away from winter. And so for the past 2 years, I have left Canada for the winters. I've traveled to Southern California, and I am loving the ability to be away from winter, and I've met so many amazing friends and had so many adventures down there. On my travels, I've met a lot of people that are surprised that I'm able to live this lifestyle, and I want to showcase more of this so people can have higher expectations of a person with a disability. I love to bend people's minds and their perceptions of what a person with a disability or in a wheelchair can do. Now, don't get me wrong, life isn't always peachy. I definitely have those moments where I'm feeling pretty sorry for myself because I'm finding something is challenging when it would be so easy for an able-bodied person to do. But overall, I have a very active, fulfilling life, and I want you to come along and see that with me. So I'd like to hear from you. What sort of content would you like to see on this YouTube channel? I could talk about van life. I can talk about some of the places I've traveled. I could talk about the challenges of living this life on wheels. And of course, I want to share all of my adrenaline-seeking adventures with you. So that's a quick summary of my life so far. I'd love for you to join in the journey as I continue on, and maybe we'll see you on the road, and maybe we can even go on a little adventure together. So until next time, let's keep it wheel, everyone.